Most amazing sea creatures.
Hey everyone, it's Alexa and welcome back to Titanic. Scientists estimate that 91% of the species in the ocean have not been identified yet. Since the ocean covers around 71% of the surface of the Earth, that's not that surprising. Of those identified species, we have rounded up some of the ones we find the most fascinating. Before we get into it, if you're a longtime viewer, then it's no surprise that I'm terrified of the ocean. One of the reasons is the amount of weird creatures that live in it. Can anyone guess how many of the discovered species don't have a backbone? Write your estimates down below and watch on to find out.
Giant clam. Clams are cool, but giant clams are completely out of this world. We're talking 500 pounds of pure mollusk, rocking out in bright colors in the tropical waters around Australasia. Giant clams aren't mollusks like snails. They're part of the sessile mollusk branch of the family, those that are attached to the ground. They live around coral reefs and lagoons because they need sunlight to thrive. They're made up of a thick, bony outer shell with zigzag edges that fit together when closed, although it can't close its shell completely like smaller clams. They have no problems procreating as they are hermaphrodites and can even self-fertilize but prefer mixing to keep their genes strong. What makes the giant clam so unique is, well, its uniqueness. The brightly colored clams are each totally distinguishable and their combination of colors is never repeated in another giant clam. Their mantles sport bright color combinations of red, green, blue, pink, yellow, and brown. They grow to an average of 4 feet long, but a record-breaking 6-foot-long giant mollusk has been found. Nudibranch. Sticking with mollusks, the nudibranch is the prettiest slug we have ever seen. It's part of the shellless side of the mollusk family, but it's so flamboyantly colored it's not the kind of slug that would gross you out. It's hard to keep up with these dazzling slugs as they come in all patterns and sizes, and so far 2,000 species have been identified, with more being discovered every day. They range from bright colors with bold patterns to quite drab to camouflage to their surroundings. Their signature shape is oblong, like you might expect from a slug, but then they have the added feature of naked gills, which ride on their bodies like feathery accessories or horns, giving them a unique flair. They get their color from the food they eat, and they can even take poison from their meals that they then secrete when under threat. They are carnivores that graze the landscape. They live on plowing through meals of sponges, anemones, coral, algae, and barnacles that they come upon. Flower hat jellyfish. This is no ordinary jelly. It's about as flamboyant as a jelly can get, and spot these in a bloom of a few hundred and it's a showstopper. The flower hat jellyfish has some pretty great tricks up its tentacles, starting with its tentacles, in fact, which can curl up into coils and store under its hat when they're not in use. Plus, these tentacles aren't just flaccid, they have quite a bit of dexterity and can scoop up stunned prey once it has stung it with its potent venom. Then it'll roll it up into its mouth. Its diet is mainly small fish, but it can also sting and scoop up invertebrates. They only occur naturally in the western Pacific Ocean near Japan, so a very small stomping ground to witness this beautiful natural anomaly. Coral reefs.
Coral reefs are like the capital cities of the sea. They cover less than 1% of the ocean, but house 25% of all the marine species. So they're like rush hour marine metropolitans 24/7.
But a coral reef itself is not a plant, it's a living animal, and it takes the title for the largest structure on Earth of biological origin. Fringing reefs, barrier reefs, and coral atolls are the 3 main kinds of coral reefs. Coral derive their color from algae living inside them, which is like a commensalism parasite arrangement, as it provides the coral with food too. The royal starfish. This is no ordinary starfish. This starfish has style and charm and, well, some really weird eating habits. The royal starfish is a sand dweller and has adapted to thrive in this environment, so instead of the usual suckers on its arms, it's able to dig with the tips of its arms. You will find it rummaging around in the sand looking to uncover a delicacy like clams, but definitely not the giant clam we mentioned earlier. When it finds a meal fit for its status, it eats it whole, like shoving the whole thing into its mouth. The mouth in question contains 5 jaws, covered in spines. Once it has crunched up its prey, it expels the shells in a giant expulsion through its mouth again. A bit undignified for royalty, if you ask me. But more in line with historical royals, they are famous gluttons, and you can sometimes spot their paunch poking out in the center of their regal purple and gold star. Christmas tree worms. The Christmas tree worm must be the most festive creature in the ocean and certainly adds a pizzazz to the tropical oceans they inhabit around the world.
A single worm burrows deep into the medium he lives in and then pops out two brightly colored Christmas tree crowns.
They can be any color of the rainbow or bright white, and they aren't just a showpiece. These plumes are traps to catch their favorite food, plankton. The fine cilia of the plumes then move the trapped food particles to the worm's mouth at the base of the tree. The flying Gurnard. This fancy fish is named after its two standout traits. The first is obvious, its wing-like structures that make it look like it's flying through the water. Then Gurnard, meaning grunt in French because of the growling noise it makes through its swim bladder. When it's threatened, the Gurnard displays its fans to scare off impending doom, but it also uses them as tools to poke around the sand for food and to walk along the ocean floor. Because of this sand movement, they have attracted two wingmen, as it were. The yellow jack and the coney are both opportunistic feeders that follow close behind, snacking on the algae tufts the churning brings up. You can see this flying marvel off the coast of North and South America, Africa, and Europe. Parrotfish. Seeing parrotfish on a dive is such a treat. Like its feathered namesake, they are a diverse and colorful species boasting patterns and colors on its scaly plumage. These colors are not constant though, and ever evolving, so that during its lifetime these color-shifting wonders might sport several vivid displays at different stages of its life. Like feathery parrots, the parrotfish has a beak-like mouth, and you can actually hear it crunching coral as it snacks on it.
As colorful as its exterior is its reproductive life, as the parrotfish are mostly born female, then can change gender to male or back to female as they develop.
Anemones. Anemones are like the flowers of the ocean. In fact, they get their name from a flower found on land. Their colorful tentacles add a beautiful flash of color in a rock pool of 10,000 meters deep, and they are prolific all over the world. They aren't plants though, but invertebrates, and there are thousands of sea anemone species. They are predators and use their brightly colored tentacles to sting and immobilize prey before ensnaring them and guiding them to their central mouth. The warmer the water, the brighter their colors, and some species of anemone can live up to 50 years. Brittle stars.
Brittle stars are part of the same family as starfish and share many of the same attributes, like having 5 jaws surrounding their mouth openings, or a lack of eyes, and a lack of a brain too.
But they have a host of unique traits that make them spectacular to behold. Their arms are narrow and move gracefully, almost rowing them to where they want to go. The central part of the body looks like a disc, far more defined and separate from its 5 or 6 arms that taper more than a typical starfish shape. They do have suction cups under their central body like starfish, but not under their feet, as they don't use these for locomotion, but rather to explore its environment. They have a strong family tree of over 2,000 species of brittle stars found in all of the oceans of the world, from polar to tropical to deep sea and intertidal zones. Mantis shrimp. If the ocean was a circus, the mantis shrimp would be the ringmaster, as no one has more flair than he. They are warm water lovers and are found in the Indo-Pacific's tropical and subtropical waters. The family of mantis shrimp includes 400 species of brightly colored crustaceans in a variety of blue, green, orange, and red. But they don't only look colorful, they see color too. The mantis shrimp has one of the most elaborate visual systems in the animal kingdom. Firstly, their eyes are polarized and they can see ultraviolet light, so their day-to-day life probably looks like a rave. They also have 12 different types of photoreceptors for color analysis. Compare that to your eyes that only have 3. They also have an advanced way to see objects using 3 parts of their eyes using trinocular vision, as opposed to your binocular vision. Lined chiton. A lined chiton is a hard-shelled mollusk with 8 overlapping plates similar to an armadillo or a pillbug, but it's on the color front that it really shines. Its coralline algae habitat is pink, so it has concocted camouflage adaptations that help it blend in, while still standing out in the most phenomenal way.
It has a muscular foot like a slug that it uses to slide around on. This is colored with white or yellow spots around its bright pink girdle. Then it has armed plates with patterns made of lines of colors in endless variations.
He would do well as the ringmaster's assistant in the circus. Candy crab. These mini critters only grow to about 2 centimeters at most, less than an inch, and are often smaller, but their candy-striped limbs and body look sweet enough to eat. They only live on Dendronophyta soft corals and mimic the texture and color of their hosts. They can be purple, pink, yellow, white, or red to blend in perfectly, so they are pretty rare to spot. Orcas. Orcas, or killer whales, are skilled hunters that kill large prey with precision and cunning. They hunt alone or in packs and employ various methods to catch an indiscriminate list of prey with deadly consequence. From sea lions to whales, they bite down with their 4-inch long teeth and deal the death blow. They are the ultimate apex predator with no threats except humans. What makes them so majestic, though, is their almost mythical makeup. They have a profile similar to a dolphin, but much larger, with lengths in the region of 23 to 32 feet and weights of 6 tons. Their dorsal fins are a dramatic fixture, the longest of the cetaceans, and then just behind their saddle-shaped gray patch that gives them their signature look.
The orca puts on displays of jumps, called breaching, and nothing looks cooler than a 6-ton sea creature soaring through the air as if it were weightless.
Lucky for us, the chances of spotting an orca are pretty high, as after humans, they're the most widely distributed mammal in the world.
Okay, those are a lot of really cool creatures so far, and we still have one more to go. But let's see if you got our trivia right. It's estimated that 95% of the species discovered in the ocean so far are invertebrates. These are things like shrimp or jellyfish that have no backbone.
1. Pygmy Seahorse. Around the coasts of Southeast Asia live the cutest of sea creatures, the Pygmy Seahorse. It was first discovered in 1969 and since then has been a bucket list must-see for underwater enthusiasts. These miniature marine creatures are just fingertip-sized. Like his larger cousins, the male seahorse carries the babies and gives birth 10 to 14 days later to 12 bundles of joy. They survive on a diet of tiny crustaceans they find in their immediate vicinity, and they barely wander from their homes, generally in sea fans. They are such homebodies, in fact, that their whole day they won't venture further than the radius of a dinner plate.